Now, we know she was excited about Richard actually coming to dinner and wearing the red jacket and being polite and not threatening to kill anybody. So, like, this is her big night out.
Yeah.
And everybody else is paying attention to her, too. But Richard, not ironically, is like, that's inappropriate. You shouldn't wear that to dinner. It shows too much.
Your tits are on the table.
Yeah.
You need to calm down with that.
How can I focus on I was going to say roast beef, but it's soup. How can I focus on my soup with those things staring at me? I mean, come on.
I feel like I don't know, it's not surprising to me that Richard reacts this way, but it also kind of, comparatively to the other women that he's been around, like, Kaylin has a dress that's it's not low cut, but, like, she has her, like, confessor dress, and he doesn't think that's inappropriate.
Right. I mean, that's low and square cut, so that's cleavage city, and he never says boo about that.
Yeah, apparently it's higher up on the nipple than this is. But also, like, Denna, Richard, I mean, granted, he was, like, broken down at that point, but even though that was a skin-tight leather outfit, he never thought that was inappropriate. I think probably because of the power dynamic between the two, he didn't look at it in, like, a lewd way when he looked at her.
Right, well, that and she was all covered up. I mean, it was skin tight, but it covered, like, all of her.
Yeah, there's, like, a line there, I feel like, when it's that skin tight, you could see every crevice, and it becomes like, yeah, you're covered, but are you really covered? Because I could see your nipple, kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, yeah, I thought it was interesting. And we know that Kaylin's wedding dress is super duper low cut, and she was all like, ooh, about it, and worried about how Richard was going to react about it, but he loved it.
It's really weird. Like, we know Richard is a straight guy attracted to women, and it's like, you can see something attractive that's not your wife. It doesn't mean that everything else is automatically disgusting and inappropriate. Like, when your wife does it, it's great. So if somebody else does it, who's not your wife, it can be fine. You don't ogle them, and you don't have to even approve, because you really don't have a say at all. But, like, let people dress how they want to dress. Who really cares?
Yeah, I guess that's my thing. I'm just going to maybe pay attention to his views on nudity as we go on, because we know Kaylin's are a little bit looser, and Richard seems to have relatively strict morals when it comes to that, unless it's, like, the tits he likes.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's bad unless I like it.
Yeah, and
Then, yeah, we'll give it a pass.
Apparently this is a distracting situation, and he's not a fan of all the other guys staring at her for whatever reason.
So speaking of all the other guys, during dinner, Richard has a constant stream of wizards and sisters come to greet him during dinner as well. When he asks why everybody's being so friendly, Pasha explains that they know the transition can be difficult. Again, normally for a 10-year-old boy. So most of the people here aren't fazed by a little emotional outburst. So she's chalking Richard's threat speech up to an emotional outburst.
Yeah, which I would be pissed off about that for sure. Like, I am not a 10-year-old kid, and that was a lot more than I would think that you're used to getting from a 10-year-old kid.
Right.
Especially since you guys all talk about how the kids are totally fine with it by the time they get here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, whatever, sure.
And on top, like, okay, we've finished this book. In this book, the one thing that sticks out is Richard's speech here. That is the thing that I remember most about this book. Like, yeah, he was taken away, he has to travel, and Kaylin's doing the naked war thing. That sticks out a lot. But, like, the defining moment of this book for me, that's not the climax, was Richard looking at everybody in the palace and saying, hey, you're all on notice. I'm alone, but I'm going to win this thing. And you're not, like, A, going to keep me from my woman, and B, you're not going to keep me from, like, defeating the Keeper. It was huge. That was the pivotal moment in this book. And Pasha's like, it's an outburst. Nobody's worried about it. Richard...
You just needed a nap. So...
Yeah. But Richard is of the right mind when he thinks, well, you should be. You should be affected by this little outburst, because this little outburst is not just lip service. It's real. And I mean it.
I have a feeling they're going to get some more outbursts.
Richard.
Yeah.
Well, if you will excuse my little outburst, I think I could go for a beer.
Yeah?
What say you, JD?
I'm ready for the beer break.
Fantastic. So, in light of the Thanksgiving spirit, we got some of the good stuff out tonight.
That skips Thanksgiving entirely.
Yeah. Well, it's peppermint. You can have peppermint on Thanksgiving.
It looks like Christmas.
And after dinner mint. That's what it is.
Okay.
Ha-ha!
I'm saying there's Christmas trees on the bottle.
Oh, well, there's also a horse.
Okay.
And okay, I won't lie. The bottle is green and red, so it's Christmas, but tonight we are drinking Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Peppermint Porter. That was a lot to say. It's a porter with natural flavors aged in oak bourbon barrels. Obviously, peppermint added. They don't really have much else on the bottle, but I can tell you that it's like 8 and some change %. So won't necessarily put you on your ass, but I wouldn't like crush a whole 4-pack to yourself either.
You could try.
Not that I've ever done that. But it's very good. It compares to Girl Scout cookie, I think. Jade was saying maybe a little less chocolatey, but what's a little less chocolatey definitely shows in how much bourbon is in it, because you will notice the bourbon flavor immediately.
It is Christmassy. I taste Christmas in here. They use Centennial hops, which, I don't know a lot about hops, but that's the kind. But they also have tasting notes on here, and that's mint, chocolate, and roasted malt and oak.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. There's chocolate and mint and Christmas.
Or Thanksgiving.
Yes. And bourbon.
Which we are using it for.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very good. So, we are going to have another one of these, and we will be back right after this. And we are back. So, near the end of dinner, 2 women, one in pink, that's Celia, and one in yellow, Dulcie, come to spread a little bit of the palace gossip. With a sparkle in their eyes, which I love the way you put that. With a sparkle in their eyes, they explain that poor Jed fell down the stairs and broke his leg. Ah!
I feel like that's probably a sparkle I get in my eye when I have shit to tell you and be like, guess what our friends did?
That's the one. Then he lost his temper, because, broken leg. Turns around and he burns the carpet he tripped on. They do specifically say that he did not use Wizard's Fire. That would be a crime. They could lock him up for that.
Yeah, apparently it's a no-go in the palace. You're supposed to contain that shit. Also, I thought it was interesting that it specifically says he tripped on the carpet. So, he was mad at his own stupidity.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. What a dick.
Another thing that they do add here is that it's one of the oldest carpets in the palace. I don't know that it really makes it important to the story, but I think it goes to show that he just recklessly lashed out because he did something stupid. Like you were kind of saying, it's not the carpet's fault.
Right, and I think the whole point in their training is not necessarily just to teach them magic, which is what they say, but it's also to teach you restraint and, to be a humble, good wizard. It's what it's supposed to be. Not necessarily what it is.
Right. Basically, you get better marks if you're able to make the hard choice.
Yeah. So he fucked up big time and showed everybody that he's an asshole.
I love his punishment, though. Because he just lashed out and burned the carpet, they decide that, the healers are with him, but they're not going to fix him until tomorrow morning. He has to spend the night with a broke-ass leg and in pain and, suck it up, dude. You shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Now you know, huh? And at least it's going to be healed tomorrow, so you're better off than most people, in general.
Right? That's still unheard of. Impossible, in fact.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, at least we get drugs.
Well, Drugs do make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I now wonder, though, why they don't have everything coated in some type of, like, fireproof fucking spell. Because they should.
Yeah, you would think that they would think of something like that. There's not much there in the way of fire retardation.
Yeah.
So anything could just go up. And in a palace like that, if one thing catches, it's going. Because unless it's like the stone of the palace, it'll burn.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you could localize your fire safety spells, too. So to maximize the intelligence of them. Like this wood bookcase. We are for sure going to put the fireproof spell on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe not so much on, like, that metal bench over there.
But the carpet for sure.
Carpet for sure.
So after dinner, Pasha thanks Richard for accompanying her to her first dinner. Her first dinner. This is why it was such a big night out for her.
I was a little confused when she said that, because didn't she say she went to dinner the night before without him and was all embarrassed?
Yeah, but I think this was like a grander affair.
Like, it's a rite of passage, like my first dinner with a boy.
Yeah,
right? Like
just
thing.
like a regular sister would be.
Yeah.
Those were her words. It's a big deal to be in that position. Richard denied her of that the last time.
Hence the tits.
Right, hence the tits. She tells him that he looks very handsome, again, in the coat, and again he says, no, I look foolish. She tells him, well, Celia and Dulcie don't think that you look foolish. They like the way you look. And Richard just shrugs it off like, well, if they want the jacket so bad, they can have it. I don't care.
I wore it, but not because I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Richard asks why Jed gets to wear simple robes, and Pasha explains that as you gain more power, the simpler your robes get. We've actually talked about this before, and we've talked about this in regards to Zed.
It kind of felt to me like they're dressing the younger guys up like jesters. Like, look at that silly fucker right there. He's in those flashy clothes, and he looks terrible. So this is meant to teach wizards to be humble. No wizard with simple robes is allowed to go into the city. She adds that most wizards come to respect their robes and then they wear them for the rest of their lives, like Zed does.
Right. And Richard says that he's ready to go visit Warren right now. Not later, not sometime, not next week. We're going right now. And really, you can't blame him for having this thought because Jed just mysteriously fell down the stairs after verbally assaulting Richard and Warren. We know that it wasn't Richard, or Pasha for that matter, because they were at dinner together. But where was Warren?
Right.
And even though Pasha is supposed to be giving him his first lesson, she changes her mind and says she's got to escort him wherever he goes, and so she is going with him. And it doesn't say whether or not Richard's happy about that. It just, that's it. That's the end of the chapter. They made it to the first dinner. Richard is agreeing to be a little bit less abrasive with people as long as they're keeping his terms. But I think that shows that he's maybe in a little bit of a different headspace for the rest of his magical training.
I agree. I think his perspective has shifted. And he's ready to just get into this now.
That's right. Well, if you guys enjoyed tonight's episode, you can let us know by sending an email to podcastatt@gmail.com. If you want to find us on Facebook or Instagram, it's at podcastatt, or on Twitter at podcast_ATT. If you wanted to be extra cool, you can go to patreon.com/podcastatt and make a pledge anywhere between $1 and $10. We got a bunch of stuff on there that we hope you will enjoy. And once again, I'm thankful. I know Jade's thankful. We're thankful. Thank you for listening. We will see you real soon.